I'm speaking to you today not just as a health professional, but as someone who has sat across from thousands of women who believed their best years were behind them and watched them prove themselves wrong. Aging is not a sudden cliff. It is a daily negotiation between what we give our bodies and what we ask of them. And here's the truth most people never tell you. The smallest daily habits, repeated with intention, shape your lifespan far more than genetics ever will. Your brain and your body are not separate systems. They are in constant conversation. Every choice you make, what you eat, how you move, how you rest, how often you scroll, how deeply you connect, either restores balance or pushes you toward exhaustion and disease. Modern life offers comfort at every turn, but comfort when overconsumed quietly shortens life. The goal is not pleasure avoidance. The goal is balance. When we rebalance, the body does something extraordinary. It repairs. I've seen women in their 60s, 70s, even 80s reverse insulin resistance, regain strength, sharpen memory, and rediscover joy. Not because of a miracle pill, but because they return to daily fundamentals. Movement that challenges the muscles sends a powerful message to the brain: I am needed. When muscles are used, bones strengthen, hormones stabilize, inflammation falls, and confidence rises. You don't need extremes. You need consistency. Walking with purpose, lifting light resistance, standing tall instead of shrinking. These acts tell your nervous system that life is still expanding. Food is not entertainment, it is information. Every meal instructs your cells either to heal or to inflame. When you choose real food, protein that rebuilds muscle, fiber that feeds your gut, healthy fats that protect your brain, you reduce cravings, stabilize mood, and quiet chronic pain. And when you allow brief periods of hunger, you activate ancient repair systems that clean out damaged cells. This isn't punishment, it's renewal. The body knows exactly what to do when we stop overwhelming it. Sleep is not laziness. It is the most powerful anti-aging intervention we have. During deep sleep, the brain clears toxic waste, emotions are processed, and immune cells are reset. Protecting your sleep means protecting your future independence. A rested woman thinks clearly, moves confidently, and resists illness. This is not optional. It is foundational. But health is not only physical. Loneliness ages us faster than smoking. Human connection regulates stress hormones, lowers blood pressure, and protects memory. Speak to someone daily. Touch, laugh, be seen. Your nervous system was designed for connection, not isolation. When you reconnect, your body exhales. Now let me say something that may feel uncomfortable. Constant stimulation, sugar, screens, endless news, late night snacking, keeps the brain trapped in craving and fatigue. When you intentionally step back from excess, even briefly, your dopamine system recalibrates. Motivation returns, energy returns. Life feels vivid again. This is not deprivation. This is liberation. I want you to understand this deeply. It is never too late. Cells regenerate at every age. Muscles respond at every age. The brain rewires at every age. What changes everything is deciding that your daily habits matter, that you matter. You are not aging out of life. You are aging into wisdom, strength, and clarity. Imagine waking up with steadier energy. Imagine walking without fear of falling. Imagine your mind sharp, your body capable, your spirit grounded. This is not fantasy. This is biology responding to care. Do the simple things daily. Move your body, eat to nourish, not numb. Sleep like your life depends on it, because it does. Choose connection over isolation. Choose discomfort in small doses so your body can grow stronger. When you do this, you don't just add years to your life, you add life to your years. And that is the most powerful medicine there is. Daily discomfort has been misunderstood for far too long. In modern life, we are taught to avoid it, to eliminate it, to see it as a sign that something is wrong. But from a clinical and neuroscientific perspective, mild intentional discomfort is not harm, it is information. It is the signal that tells the brain and body to adapt, strengthen, and repair. When we remove all friction from life, we don't become safer. We become weaker, more fragile, and more dependent. I have seen this pattern repeatedly in clinical practice, especially as people age. The human nervous system evolved in environments where effort was unavoidable. Muscles were used daily, food required patience, and rest followed exertion. Today, comfort is immediate and constant. Chairs replace squatting, elevators replace stairs, screens replace movement, and convenience replaces effort. The brain, designed to seek balance, responds to this excess comfort by dulling motivation and amplifying fatigue. What feels like low energy is often a nervous system that has lost its calibration. When you introduce small, deliberate challenges into your day, the body responds with remarkable intelligence. Walking briskly when you would rather sit, lifting light resistance when muscles feel hesitant, choosing to stand when rest seems easier, these actions activate stress responses that are short-lived and beneficial. In medicine, we call this hormesis, a low dose of stress that triggers repair. Bones become denser, muscles regain strength, insulin sensitivity improves. Even mood stabilizes because movement releases neurochemicals that counter anxiety and depression. Discomfort also restores agency. Many people believe aging means surrendering control, but the opposite is true. The moment you choose effort over ease, you remind your brain that you are capable. That sense of capability is not psychological fluff. It is biologically meaningful. It increases dopamine in a healthy, sustainable way, through earned reward rather than passive consumption. This is why effort feels satisfying long after the moment has passed, while comfort quickly fades and demands more. It's important to clarify that this is not about punishment or extremes. The nervous system does not need brutality, it needs consistency. A few minutes of strain, repeated daily, is far more powerful than rare bursts of intensity. The goal is not exhaustion, the goal is engagement. When discomfort is chosen rather than imposed, it builds confidence instead of fear. I have watched patients reverse years of decline by adopting this mindset. Joint pain lessens as muscles support the body. Balance improves, reducing fear of falling. Sleep deepens because the body has earned rest. Most importantly, identity shifts, from someone protecting themselves from life to someone actively participating in it. Avoiding discomfort feels kind in the moment, but it quietly accelerates decline. Embracing small challenges feels difficult at first, but it slows aging at its core. The body is always listening. When you show it that you are still willing to work, it responds by staying alive, alert, and strong. That is not motivation. That is biology doing exactly what it was designed to do. What you consume does far more than fill your stomach or pass the time. It trains your brain. Every bite, every sip, every hit of sweetness or stimulation sends a message to the reward system about what matters, what to seek, and how much is enough. In modern life, we are surrounded by substances engineered to deliver rapid pleasure with minimal effort. Highly processed foods, constant snacking, and endless novelty keep dopamine levels artificially elevated. Over time, the brain adapts by reducing its sensitivity, leaving you feeling tired, unmotivated, and perpetually unsatisfied. This is not a failure of willpower. It is predictable neurobiology. The brain's reward pathway evolved to reinforce behaviors essential for survival, such as eating real food after effort. When pleasure becomes too easy and too frequent, the system loses balance. Cravings intensify, not because the body needs more, but because the brain has been trained to expect constant stimulation. This is why many people feel out of control around food, especially sugar and refined carbohydrates. The cycle is simple but powerful. The more you indulge, the more you want. The more you want, the less pleasure you feel. When you change what you consume, you change what you crave. Whole foods, those with intact protein, fiber, and healthy fats, digest slowly and send steady signals of satiety to the brain. Blood sugar stabilizes, inflammation decreases, and mood becomes more predictable. Just as importantly, the absence of constant reward allows the dopamine system to reset. After a period of restraint, simple foods begin to taste better. Energy returns not in spikes, but in sustained clarity. Allowing brief periods of hunger can be transformative. Hunger is not an emergency. It is a biological signal that activates repair. During these windows, the body shifts from storage to cleanup. Damaged cells are recycled, insulin sensitivity improves, and metabolic flexibility is restored. Many people fear hunger because they associate it with weakness or deprivation, but clinically, appropriate hunger is associated with resilience and longevity. It teaches the brain that discomfort can be tolerated and even beneficial. This process is not about perfection or rigidity. It is about intention. Eating with structure rather than impulse gives the nervous system predictability, which reduces anxiety and compulsive behavior. When meals are planned and nourishing, food regains its proper role as fuel, not entertainment. Emotional eating diminishes because the brain no longer relies on food as its primary coping mechanism. I've seen patients who believed they had lost discipline rediscover calm and control simply by changing inputs. As cravings quiet, confidence grows. As confidence grows, motivation follows. The body responds quickly to this recalibration, but the deeper change happens in identity. You begin to see yourself not as someone fighting urges, but as someone who understands their brain and works with it. Consumption always comes with consequences, whether we acknowledge them or not. When we choose nourishment over stimulation, restraint over excess, we restore balance. And when the brain is balanced, health stops feeling like a battle and starts feeling like a natural state the body knows how to return to. Sleep is often treated as optional, a passive state we fall into when everything else is done. From a medical and neuroscientific standpoint, this misunderstanding carries serious consequences. Sleep is not downtime. It is active, restorative work. It is the period when the brain and body perform essential maintenance that cannot occur while we are awake. When sleep is shortened or fragmented, aging accelerates at a cellular level, and no amount of healthy eating or exercise can fully compensate. During deep sleep, the brain activates a specialized cleansing system that removes metabolic waste and neurotoxins accumulated during the day. These substances, when left uncleared, are associated with cognitive decline, mood disorders, and neurodegenerative disease. At the same time, hormonal systems recalibrate. Cortisol, the stress hormone, lowers. Growth hormone, critical for tissue repair and muscle maintenance, increases. Immune cells are regenerated, inflammation is reduced, and memory is consolidated. Sleep is the foundation upon which resilience is built. Chronic sleep deprivation disrupts the brain's reward circuitry. When we are overtired, the dopamine system becomes dysregulated, leading to stronger cravings for sugar, stimulants, and fast pleasure. Decision-making deteriorates, emotional reactivity increases, and self-control weakens. This creates a vicious cycle. Poor sleep drives behaviors that further impair sleep. Over time, this pattern contributes to weight gain, insulin resistance, anxiety, depression, and increased risk of cardiovascular disease. For many people, especially as they age, sleep becomes lighter and more fragmented. This is not inevitable decline. It is often the result of lifestyle signals that confuse the nervous system. Irregular schedules, late-night eating, excessive screen exposure, and constant stimulation tell the brain to stay alert when it should be powering down. The nervous system cannot shift into deep rest when it is flooded with cues of urgency and reward. Protecting sleep requires intentional boundaries. Creating a consistent rhythm, waking and resting at similar times each day, anchors the circadian clock. Reducing stimulation in the evening allows dopamine levels to fall naturally, making rest feel inviting rather than forced. Even small adjustments, like dimming lights or allowing quiet moments before bed, send powerful safety signals to the brain. Clinically, I've observed that when sleep improves, many other symptoms resolve without direct intervention. Mood stabilizes, pain sensitivity decreases, cognitive clarity returns. People often report feeling more like themselves, not because they added something new, but because they removed the chronic strain of exhaustion. Sleep restores a sense of internal order that modern life constantly disrupts. Choosing sleep is not a sign of weakness or withdrawal from life. It is a commitment to long-term vitality and independence. When you protect your sleep, you protect your brain's ability to regulate pleasure, pain, and motivation. The body does not need to be pushed harder. It needs to be allowed to recover. And when recovery becomes non-negotiable, health follows naturally, with a steadiness and strength that no stimulant can replicate. Loneliness is often dismissed as an emotional inconvenience, something we assume we can manage privately or power through. From a medical perspective, this is a dangerous misunderstanding. Social isolation is a profound biological stressor. The human nervous system evolved in connection with others, and when that connection is absent, the body interprets it as a threat. Stress hormones rise, immune function weakens, inflammation increases, and the brain shifts into a state of hypervigilance. Over time, this state accelerates aging and increases the risk of chronic disease. In clinical practice, I have seen loneliness present itself not as sadness, but as fatigue, pain, insomnia, and anxiety. The body speaks when the need for connection is unmet. Social interaction regulates the autonomic nervous system, helping it move out of fight or flight and into a state of safety. When we speak with someone, when we are listened to, when we laugh or make eye contact, the brain releases neurochemicals that lower cortisol and stabilize heart rate and blood pressure. These are not abstract benefits. They are measurable physiological effects. As people age, social networks often shrink. Roles change, loved ones are lost, routines shift, and mobility may decline. The resulting isolation is frequently accepted as normal, but it should not be. Humans do not age out of their need for connection. In fact, the protective effects of social bonds become more important over time, buffering against cognitive decline and emotional distress. Regular interaction challenges the brain, preserves language and memory, and reinforces a sense of identity and purpose. Modern substitutes for connection, passive entertainment, constant scrolling, background noise, can worsen the problem. They provide stimulation without reciprocity, leaving the nervous system activated but unsatisfied. The brain interprets this mismatch as stress. True connection requires presence and response. It requires being seen and seeing others in return. Even brief daily interactions can have profound effects when they are intentional and engaged. Connection does not require perfection or constant social activity. It requires consistency and meaning. A daily conversation, shared meals, physical touch, or participation in a group creates predictable signals of safety. These signals allow the nervous system to relax, freeing energy for healing and repair. Many people report that pain decreases, sleep improves, and mood lifts simply by increasing social contact without any change in medication or diet. There is also a responsibility we have toward one another. When we reach out, we not only protect our own health, but contribute to the resilience of others. This mutual regulation is built into our biology. We are designed to co-regulate stress, to borrow calm from one another. Isolation removes this essential resource. Choosing connection is a health decision. It is as critical as movement, nutrition, and sleep. When we prioritize relationships, we are not being indulgent or dependent. We are honoring the way the human system was designed. Health does not exist in isolation. It is sustained through shared presence, shared meaning, and the steady reassurance that we do not have to navigate life alone. The human brain is constantly seeking balance, even when our behavior pushes it in the opposite direction. Pleasure and pain are processed in the same areas of the brain, working like opposite sides of a scale. When we tip too far toward pleasure, too much stimulation, too much ease, too much reward, the brain responds by creating an equal and opposite state of pain. This is not punishment, it is regulation. Understanding this mechanism is essential to understanding why so many people feel exhausted, unmotivated, and disconnected despite living in a world of unprecedented comfort. Modern life delivers dopamine with extraordinary efficiency. Sugar, screens, online validation, constant news, shopping, and endless novelty provide rapid reward without effort. Initially, this feels energizing and comforting. Over time, however, the brain adapts. Dopamine receptors downregulate, meaning the same activities bring less satisfaction. Motivation drops. Joy feels muted. What once felt pleasurable becomes necessary just to feel normal. This is the neurobiology behind burnout and emotional numbness. When stimulation is reduced, even temporarily, the brain begins to recalibrate. This period can feel uncomfortable. People may experience restlessness, boredom, or irritability. Clinically, this is not harm. It is recovery in progress. The brain is rebalancing its reward system. As dopamine sensitivity returns, motivation increases naturally. Ordinary experiences, conversation, movement, nature, meaningful work begin to feel rewarding again. This is why intentional pauses from excess are so powerful. Stepping back from constant stimulation allows the nervous system to reset. Silence becomes tolerable, then restorative. Stillness becomes grounding rather than threatening. The brain relearns how to generate motivation internally instead of relying on external triggers. This is not about eliminating pleasure, but about restoring its impact. Balance also changes how we relate to discomfort. When pleasure is no longer overused as a coping mechanism, discomfort becomes manageable. Emotions can be felt without immediately being numbed or distracted away. This emotional tolerance is a marker of psychological strength. It allows people to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. In this state, decision-making improves, habits stabilize, and long-term goals regain relevance. In clinical settings, I have seen profound shifts occur when patients reduce excess stimulation. Anxiety lessens, focus sharpens, energy becomes more consistent. Many describe a return of curiosity and purpose. These changes are not the result of adding something new, but of removing what was overwhelming the system. Health is not achieved by chasing constant pleasure or eliminating all pain. It emerges when the brain is allowed to operate within its natural limits. Pleasure feels richer when it is earned. Rest feels deeper when it follows effort. Joy feels authentic when it is not forced. When you balance the brain, the body follows. Inflammation decreases, sleep improves, and resilience increases. Life regains texture and meaning. This is not a motivational idea. It is a biological principle. When we respect the brain's need for balance, we unlock a form of health that is sustainable, grounded, and deeply human.